welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Saturday, October the 31st. It's Halloween, and I'm still at the New Orleans Investment Conference, and I have the distinct honor of speaking with Rich Checkan, who is the president and COO of Asset Strategies International. How you doing today, Rich?
Doing great, Rory. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and the conference so far has been really great. And your company, you guys are a precious metals company, and if you would, Rich, just tell us what you see happening with gold and silver right now, and what's happening with the market.
Well, plain and simple, we can see a lot of demand. We've seen incredible demand for physical coins, bars in every form available, dating back about 8 months now.
Okay.
So it's not just something that's a flash in the pan. I was at Doug Casey's Summit a few weeks ago, and he asked me point blank, well, what's triggering all this demand? And I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that the precious metals prices have fallen. You got silver down $14, $15, $16 range. Cost of production is $20.
Right.
So the savvy investors are seeing that as an opportunity, and they're trying to take advantage of it. Gold down in the 1100s. Wasn't that long ago, 4 or 5 years, where it was trading, at all-time nominal highs of $1,900 an ounce. So demand has kicked in. We've been very busy supplying that demand, probably as busy as we've been since 2012.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good. So, I mean, and there's some of the dealers that I've spoken with. They've said that they're experiencing some of their best sales months ever this year. And is that the case with asset strategies?
No question about it. Again, the physical demand is what's driving this. I don't think this is a fear trade. I just think it's savvy investors stepping in because the market is allowing an opportunity to an extent. And you probably want to ask me about what the impact that's having on supply at some point.
Yes, I do. So. If you would, Rich, just tell us a little bit about Asset Strategies and what you guys are doing.
Well, we're a 33-year-old Rockville, Maryland-based company, privately held. We started out as just metals and currencies, precious metals and foreign currencies. We have expanded over the past decade to be a full-service tangible asset company. So we offer high-end rare coins, high-end rare stamps, world and ancients, and rare strategic metals.
Very cool.
And for us, it's very simple. The common thread in everything we sell is it's intrinsically valuable assets. So you take your dollars, which, by the way, are very strong right now, and there's an opportunity to exchange them for real things. Right. And eventually, over time, as our wonderful governments mismanage currencies and cause them to lose value, you can eventually trade those real things back in the future for more worth less dollars. Right?
There you go. So. That sounds perfect. And what do you see? What's happening with the 90% silver? Because I like to use that as an indicator of what's happening with the overall precious metals market. And is there any available? Are the premiums going through the roof? Are they stabilizing? What's happening with the 90%?
Yes to all of that. You've been around this industry a long time, and you know that investors tend to look to junk silver, and I agree with you. I don't like that term. It's the colloquial term. It's 90% U.S. silver coinage minted prior to 65.
Correct.
The investors like it because it is real silver. It is liquid and recognizable. In case you had an emergency, you can easily transfer that for the wealth that it stores.
Exactly.
And it's divisible. And I personally don't think there's, a gloom and doom scenario where we're going to be trading, 90% quarters for loaves of bread, but you never know, and it's nice to have that option. So it's been one of our favorite metals for years. One of our co-founders believes that every family member should own 1,000 face bag of junk silver. Of course, not every family member can in the world, but it's a nice goal. It's one of the things we like when the junk silver price or the 90% silver price is at or near bullion prices, bars and coins, because we like the fact that you can get that added divisibility without paying an added premium. Unfortunately, that's not the case right now.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years.
Is it not available? I mean, or is it limited supplies, or what's going on with the supplies there?
Very limited supplies because they're not making any more since '64.
Right.
So there's nobody that can just turn on the mint and start cranking out 90% silver. Although maybe we should reconsider that. So that the only time junk silver comes into the marketplace is through the secondary market. So people that already own it have a reason to sell it, whether it be an emergency, or they hit an extreme low where they say, forget it, we call that tired liquidation, and they sell into the market.
Yeah.
Or it hits a new high, which we haven't done in a while. We've been range trading for a few years now.
Yes.
So another option is to hit a new high, and now you've hit the point where they want to shed their junk silver or their 90%. And we haven't had any of those instances for quite some time. So as range trading continues, the availability dries up, the premiums and the delivery times go sky high. Just to give you a quick example, 5 years ago, we were selling retail junk silver bags to clients 4 to 5% over spot, all in, delivered. And if you paid me with a wire, I had it out the door that day or the next.
Wow.
Go back a couple weeks, these are the terms. 30 to 35% over spot for 90% silver. Delivery times. Can't tell you when I'm going to send it to you.
Wow.
All I know is it's going to be at least a couple months.
And that's just a guess, right?
That's just a guess. And we have folks that would tell us, I don't care, I want it anyway.
Wow.
That's the demand we've seen for the past 8 months.
And you said you like all the quarters, dimes, and I personally like the
half dollars.
Half dollars. I'm a half dollars guy. That was actually one of the very first purchases that I made. One of my first acquisitions, I should say, of silver was 50 half dollars.
Nice.
And I'm very happy with it. I've still got them. Not ever going to let go of them. And they're all Franklins. Every one of them are Franklins.
Well, that's a good point. You say you're never going to let go of them. I mean, that's the way we look at precious metals. We don't sell fear and greed. We sell prudence, okay?
There you go.
And that's not a 50% position in precious metals, okay? What that is, it's a small position, and we call it core holdings or your golden anchor or wealth insurance. It's basically a liquid store of purchasing power for a potential financial emergency you hope you never have.
Yeah.
And our thought is you never part with it unless you have an emergency. If you do, cash it in immediately and meet the need, and if you never do, good for you. Pass it on to your heirs, give them a start in life, give them some real money.
Give them some real money. And the other part of it is, I mean, there's so much talk, not just here in the States, but around the world as far as moving to a cashless society. Mm-hmm. You have all of these currency wars that are going on. I mean, there's so many different problems that we're experiencing with the fiat currency. And once again, not just here in the States, it's globally. And when you've got our biggest creditor nation, China, unloading 12% of their U.S. holdings over the course of 8 weeks, 10 weeks, that's kind of a big deal.
It is.
And we have to, like you said, be prudent about what we're doing as far as protecting ourselves, protecting our family. The only thing that has done that for 5,000 years has been silver and gold. And silver, I personally like silver better because it has been money longer than gold. It's more accessible than gold. It's better understood than gold. And as Brother John F. calls it, it's the people's money. It's what people use.
I agree with you. I like silver as well. I think the only issue with silver in that regard is the bulk, and that's why gold works pretty darn well too, because you get a lot of wealth in a dense coin or bar. And I agree with you about your comments about China. I think it's brilliant what they're doing. They're fighting a war, but I don't think there'll ever be a shot because they're winning it financially. Yeah. And they're doing smart things. They're moving to real assets. And this is not something that started yesterday or last year. We're talking 3-4 decades. We've seen a movement of real wealth, a transfer of real wealth, intrinsically valuable precious metals, raw materials, the means to produce them, moving from west to east as the West continues their love affair with paper, debt, paper markets.
Yes.
And I think we're going down the wrong path. However, I don't think that's the end of the world. You know,
and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't see. I used to believe that there was going to be this massive crash and everything was going to, just crash and burn. I don't believe that anymore. I don't think that I don't think that that's in anyone's best interest as far as.
They know it too.
And they know it too. I mean, and I think that where we're at right now, and you can help me to understand this, Rich, is I think that where we're at right now in time in history are these governments trying to figure out how to get out of the dollar and what to move to next. And they're not playing with each other. They're not communicating with each other regarding that. The East has its plans and what they're working on, and the West has its enslavement and what their plans and what they're working on.
Well, they don't consult me. They haven't called or I hadn't noticed. But
you didn't get the email?
No, I didn't get the email. But there have been a couple theories kicked about. One is that they're not communicating and they're all kind of driving things down to zero on their own. They're all looking out for their best interests,
sure,
and they're racing to the bottom. That's one theory. The other theory is they are talking to each other, and basically they're taking turns bringing their currencies down. I forget who spoke the other day, but they talked about taking a little sip from the canteen as they're fighting in the heat. So that's the other concept, is maybe they are in collusion, and they are keeping a mind on global stability, and as a result, they're just weakening everything fiat as they move further downward toward intrinsic value of fiat, which is zero. And how do you protect yourself as an individual investor? My personal opinion is you hold real things when fiat is strong. Dollars are strong right now. It's a great time to take advantage of that, whether you believe in metals or maybe it's real estate or maybe it's timber or maybe it's high-end rare art, rare coins. Anything that's real and has value, it's a great time to move into it. And you become your own central banker. The hell with what the government does.
Exactly. Be your own central banker. That is, I like that a lot. As a matter of fact, I've written about that and I've interviewed several people and we've discussed that very thing. And that's in essence what you have to do. I mean, if you put any, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but if you have any faith or confidence in Federal Reserve or the European Central Bank or any central bank anywhere on this planet or fiat currency, I think that you're making a mistake. Now, that's just my opinion. You can do whatever it is that you feel is best for you and your family, but history will prove me to be right. If you go back and look at history, you will see that the statement that I just made is 100% correct.
You know, I forget where I read it, so this is an unbacked up source, if you will, but somewhere it was written that no fiat currency has stood the test of couple centuries, basically. They all tend to go to zero by that point. And, you look at our history as a country, and we're well past that point. But I was corrected. One lady said, yeah, but we actually were gold-backed and convertible up to a certain point. So the 200 years of just straight fiat didn't start in 1776.
No, it started actually August 15th, 1971.
Exactly.
When Nixon closed the gold window and gold and paper dollars were no longer convertible to gold.
Absolutely.
And and according to Mike Maloney, the research that he's done, it's about 40 years the lifespan of fiat currency, and we are well past that.
Yes.
At this point. So,
of course, we've enjoyed the benefit of being the world's reserve currency, and the world is working off dollars. And that's where I think the big change will come. Again, I don't think it's gloom and doom and cats and dogs living in the street. What I think is going to happen is our standard of living is going to change significantly.
Yes.
And it'll still be okay. I mean, other countries ruled the world. And I say rule, that's the wrong word. Dictated, controlled, set policy, coerce people into doing things, whatever the case might be. You get Rome, Spain, England, whatever. They're still around. They didn't go off the face of the earth, and you can have a nice life in Rome or Italy or Spain. But they're not calling the shots anymore. Right. And that's what's going to change, and with it, standard of living, I think, suffers for those that don't prepare. Don't become their own central bankers.
Don't become their own central bank. And before we started the show, Rich, you were telling me about the White House Council on Retirement, or White House Council on Aging.
White House Council on Aging, yeah.
Yes. And we don't have time to go into that right now, but I would like to follow up with you and dig into that, because retirement, what these guys are doing, what you were describing, sounded very, very important, and it sounds like there's kind of like one of the think tanks that makes policy in the background. And if you just give us a brief introduction to it.
Yeah, maybe I can come back in the future and touch it in a little more depth, because it's something that's not on everybody's radar,
Yes.
but it ought to be, especially if you're at or approaching retirement age, because what they do is they meet every 10 years, and they just met this summer in coordination with anniversaries for both Medicare and Social Security. Okay. So they basically get together, and they're kind of a think tank, and you have to pay attention, because although they're not policy making and they don't build regulations, what they do is they talk about things that end up seeing the light of day. Last time they met 10 years ago, they talked about extending the retirement age. Next thing you knew, you're going to work until 67. All right, so these are some of the things that come out of these meetings, and if you're not paying attention, you could get blindsided. And the two biggest killers of a fixed income portfolio are basically inflation and taxation. So you have to pay attention to threats from both directions, and there's a few coming out of this summer's meeting. We might want to get back and talk about it.
Yeah, I think that I would love for you to come back and we could dig into that. I think that would be a great topic for my audience, and I know that they would be very interested in that. I'm very interested in it, so maybe in a few weeks we'll get back together on that.
Be happy to do it.
All right, thank you. And we've been speaking with Rich Checkan, who is President, COO, Asset Strategies International. You find a link in the description box. And Rich, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rory. It's been my pleasure.
We'll talk with you soon.